The main role of the nervous system, together with the endocrine system, is to monitor and maintain the constant internal environment of the body. So it is done by monitoring and responding to changes in the internal and external environment. So the nervous system has the capability to receive and process internal and external information. So it also has the capability to integrate this information and then to generate and enable a response to the integrated information. So let's start with the basic structural unit of the nervous system, the neuron. So these are the parts of the neuron. So shown in this diagram, so the basic parts includes the dendrites, the cell body, of course the cell membrane. We also have the axon, which contains the axon hillock and terminals, and also have certain other accessories like the Schwann cell, which forms the myelin sheath, and the spaces between them, which are the nodes of Ranvier, and of course the nucleus. So the dendrites are the ones that receive the signal from other cells. Usually it receives signals from other neurons or receptors. And the cell body is the one that organizes and keeps the cell functional. So like any other cell, all the functions of the ordinary cell are taken upon by the cell body. So it also has a cell membrane which protects the cell and is much involved in membrane transport and also for generating action potentials. And then we have the axon hillock, which generates impulse in the neuron. So this is actually where the impulse of that is conducted through the axon is generated. So in this part we have the nodes of Ranvier, which is formed by the spaces between the myelin sheath, which is formed by the Schwann cell. So it allows the fusion of ions. So it allows the fusion of ions from one node to another, which makes conduction of impulses faster. That is a process called saltatory conduction, which will be discussed in a bit more detail later or in the next topics. And we have the Schwann cells, which forms the myelin sheath. The myelin sheath is an insulator that increases the speed of signal conduction. And then we have the end terminal of the axon, which is the axon terminal. It forms junctions with other cells, and these other cells can either be a muscle cell or another effector organ or another neuron. Then of course this long process is the axon. Now we go to the reflex arc. The reflex arc is the basic functional unit of the nervous system, although other literatures will say that the neuron is the basic structural and functional unit. Other literature says that it is the reflex arc, which is the functional unit of the nervous system. Why is it the functional unit of the nervous system? The reflex arc contains 5 complete components of a functional unit. It starts with a receptor, which is in this example the skin, and then we have a sensory neuron which conducts impulses from the skin or the receptor towards in this case the spinal cord, which is part of the central nervous system, and then goes to the spinal cord, which serves as the integration system. As shown here is the gray matter, and there we have the interneuron, which connects the sensory neuron to the motor neuron. Okay. Then of course, as mentioned, we have the motor neuron and the effector organ. In this case is the muscles. For instance, if the skin detects pinprick pain, for instance, it is pricked by a needle, the muscle will contract to withdraw the part which is pricked. So that involves all of these components. So that's the reflex arc. Now we go to the basic organization of the nervous system. So the nervous system is the highest part, or the highest organizing part of the nervous system is collectively the central nervous system, which is composed of the brain and the spinal cord. So from the brain and the spinal cord, we have the peripheral nervous system. So those nerves or nerve fibers that goes from the central nervous system are called efferent nerves or pathways, and it has two components, the somatic and the autonomic. Okay, so for the effectors of the somatic, we have the skeletal muscles, and for the autonomic, we have the smooth cardiac muscles and glands. The somatic is involved in the voluntary movements or responses, while the autonomic is for the involuntary movement or responses. Now, the other part of the peripheral nervous system is actually the afferent pathway, which by this arrow indicates that impulses or signals are from receptors and are conducted towards the central nervous system. Okay, so we have internal receptors, that means inside or part of the body, and we have the exteroceptors, which detects signals or stimuli from the external of the body. Okay, so this is the basic diagram of the organization of the nervous system. Then what is important to understand about the nervous system is this law, which is the Bell-Magendie law, especially in the spinal cord. This Bell-Magendie law is formulated by Charles Bell and Francois Magendie, which says that the dorsal roots of the spinal nerves are sensory and the ventral roots are motor. Going back to this illustration, you can see that the dorsal root or the dorsal nerves that are going to the central nervous system are sensory, and the motor are, or the ventral nerves are motor.